I'm sure you know the story of the scorpion and the frog, but do you know the one about Dalip Singh? This is 1060 Crimes, and we're in the late 1940s, United Kingdom. The Trinidadian Dalip Singh is a medical student. He had arrived in the UK during the Windrush generation, and it is there he met Inga Braunschweiger, and the two were very quickly smitten with each other. Inga was born in Germany in 1927. The problem was she was Jewish, so in 1939, her family, including her younger sister Nora, had to flee to London. She eventually won a scholarship and went to study ophthalmology at the University of Edinburgh. In 1951, Singh became qualified, so that now Dr. Singh married Inga and they moved to the land of steel pan and calypso, Trinidad and Tobago, to live out their days together. But unfortunately, something about the tropical heat turned the relationship sour. And in the dusk of the Caribbean sunset, they both sought refuge in the arms of other people. Inga eventually relocated to the US to be closer to family. Nora, Inga's younger sister, would have been relieved by this move, as she never liked Singh. She said he wasn't a nice person, but the universe had made sure there was equilibrium on that topic, because Singh's parents did not like Inga, and it wasn't because she was Jewish, she simply wasn't Hindu. In 1954, Inga returned to Trinidad to close off lingering matters. She was last seen alive on April 6, 1954. 2 days later, a white lady's mutilated body washed ashore in Otaheite. A Dr. Barrow was performing the autopsy on the body when he asked Dr. Singh if he recognized her. Singh looked at the cadaver on the table before him and said, "No, don't recognize her." Now, Dr. Barrow and Dr. Singh knew each other, but allegedly there may have been some tension between them, but more on that later. Strangely enough, although the husband couldn't recognize his wife, a worker from Singh's St. Clair home was able to identify the lady as Inga. A live-in worker at Singh's house said on April 6, 1954, which would have been a few days before, they had heard a ferocious argument between the two. Then the worker saw both Singh and Inga leave in the doctor's car, with Inga in the back seat as opposed to the front seat where she normally sat. When the doctor returned, there was no passenger in the front or the back. They would later learn that Singh had taken Inga for a 70-kilometer drive and a moonlight walk on the beach. Singh exercised his medical expertise and made an incision from Inga's windpipe to her hips. He removed some of her organs to prevent her from floating. Perhaps he had slept through some of his classes, because the body had very quickly floated and gotten washed ashore. But this only brings a ghastly question to the forefront. How evil does one have to be to dissect someone they love, then bury them in the cold, lonely ocean? What animal would be capable of this? What substance courses through the veins of the animal that can do this to the woman they wanted to spend the rest of their life with? A woman that uprooted her entire world to come live in theirs. But now the hunt was on. For months there was a cat and mouse game between the evil doctor and the dogged detectives. A Poirot versus Pink Panther epic straight out of an Agatha Christie novel. But the crafty detectives continued to narrow the slippery doctor, zigging and zagging until he was ushered straight into handcuffs. Dr. Barrow, the doctor that performed the autopsy, gave medical evidence at the trial, and this is where the alleged history between the doctors was inserted into the narrative by Singh's lawyers. They alleged Dr. Barrow was twisting the truth to get revenge on behalf of his sister. It was alleged that Dr. Barrow's sister and Singh had been in a romantic relationship prior to Singh's marriage. However, when Inga came into the frame, he quickly shoved the heartbroken girl to the side. Personally, I believe that was the biggest win of the young lady's life. Singh was eventually found guilty of strangling his 27-year-old wife, Inga, to death. Imagine surviving World War II only to be murdered in paradise by your loving husband. Both of Singh's appeals were unsuccessful. He did his little shimmy on the trapdoors of the gallows in June 1955. Unfortunately for him, but fortunately for us, there was no Pratt and Morgan to swoop in and save him. You can check out my last video for the story of Pratt and Morgan. Also, even in doing the research, it is unclear as to why Singh was at the autopsy being performed by Dr. Barrow. Some sources say he randomly came to the location, totally unaware his wife was on the table. Other sources say he had heard about the body, so went to spy to see if it was his wife. And yet other sources say he was summoned to gauge his reaction. Let us know which version you believe, or maybe you have information from close to the source that you would like to share. And to answer the question I had asked earlier, what type of animal could do this? a scorpion, because it was in his nature. It had always been there and clearly identified by Nora, Inga's younger sister. She had said she didn't like him because he wasn't a nice person. Nora passed away in 2014. I wonder how many more years of life Inga would have enjoyed had she not been given a prescription for death. This is 1060 Crimes, Small Caribbean, Big Crime.